Brick Geek here again. This time, this is my green ManaStomp deck that I managed to put together. I was really lucky on this one because no one else went green. So I had pretty much a full pick of all the green. So, let's have a quick look through. We'll start for 1-drops. We've got Hunger of the Howl pack. 1-drop to put a +1/+1 counter on a creature for an instant. That's a nice little save. The Morbid effect is even better. Now, the Morbid effect will come in a minute and I'll show you why that's so good for me. Now, into the 2-drops. We've got the instant Provoke. Untap creature you don't control. That creature blocks this turn if able and draw a card. That's this creature fights that creature scenario that's very good for removal if someone's got a flyer that you want to get out of the way, if someone's got an unblockable creature, something like that, and it's going to turn up in Conspiracy. That means they have to fight. Just one in there, just as a little bit of a spicer. Then we've got Plummet. Saying it again, flyers always a problem. Destroy creature with flying. Boom, there. Problem solved with a 2-drop, especially when you've got angels going around and stuff like that. Then we come down to Echoing Courage. Target creature and all other creatures get +2/+2. Other creatures that the same name. That's really useful. Just as a 2-drop to give +2/+2, quick, instant, boom, you're dead, gone. When you're using multi-creatures, which I've got a couple of, even better. Then, Respite. Basically, that's Fog with life gain. Who's going to argue with Fog with life gain? I play green. I'm a green player, and I love Fog. I did make a Turbo Fog deck once, and hated playing it because it was so boring. But, always put some Fog in. A couple of Fog will do you fine, and this saved me and won me the game, because I did win on this draft. Then we come down, Retro Lantern, as I put into my last one, there's always a chance of mill, and if you use up one of the good cards that you know you've got in there, especially if you've got a lot of land thinning, deck thinning, stuff going on, really useful to get your instants back in, means that you've got another chance at your Respite, at your Plummet, Hunger of the Howl pack, all of those lovely things. Now, this was a very useful card. Sakura Tribe Elder. It's the Snake Shaman. That's a 2-drop for a 1/1. A bit pricey, but when he's sacrificed, search your library for a basic land card, put that card in battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So, he's land grabbing and he's inbuilt sack. So, anything with Morbid, you can trigger yourself. Did that a couple of times. And he's, you can run in with a chump blocker. I'm going to chump that. Once you've initiated it, then you sack him out. Means that no one actually dies and you take away that victory from someone. I always like doing stuff like that. Then down to, I had 3 of those, by the way. I only drafted 3. If I had 4, I would have played 4. It's the only one that I probably would have gone for more than 2 of, I think, in this. Then we've got Gnarlid pack. I think that's how you pronounce it. They are 2/2s for 2. 2/2s for 2. What's wrong with a 2/2 for 2? Nothing, really, especially in green. Chuck them out, get them gone. But they've also got multi-kicker, so early game, second turn, I've got a 2/2 out. There you go. Later on in the game, oh look, I've got a 4/4, I've got a 6/6. Because you're running mana ramp, that's what you're doing in this deck. You're playing green. You know you're going to have fatties by the end of it. Now we're on to our 3-drops. So, let's start with the artifact. We've got Spectral Searchlight. That gives me a little bit of extra mana. I can play it for anything I want. That meant I could splash a little something different, and I'll show you what I did in a minute. But that was in there just to help with a bit of mana fixing. Then we've got a Lead the Stampede. 3-drop for you look at the top 5 cards, any creatures get put into your hand, and everything else goes to the bottom of your library. It means you don't have any discard off it. You get everything back, a bit at the bottom of the library, and you go and grab creatures which you need mid to late game in green. You need to be digging through your deck, filling your hand up with as many creatures you can throw at people as possible. And especially with all the Morbid effects that are going on, you want them as chump blockers, whatever you can do with this just mill, this machine that you're churning up bodies with. I love playing green. yeah, just one of those, only drafted the one. If I could have got more than that, I would have. Then we come down to 2 Scorecap Spiders. 3-drop for a 1/5 with reach. Not brilliant, but as a blocker, early game, it was lovely for me. 3rd turn and he was out. I did manage to put a Hunger of the Wolf Pack on him and turn him into a 4/8, but it was instantly nullified. Bloody blue players. Right, that's our 3-drops, so our 4-drops. Now, I really wanted to talk about this one. Canal Dredger, it's a 4-drop for a 1/4. That's not great mana-wise, but it has the ability to tap it and put target card from bottom of your graveyard onto the bottom of your library. So once again, that's the inbuilt Rieto Lantern for no mana cost. That's quite nice. What I also did was draft it. Now this one means that you get the last card from each booster pack. I drafted this on the 2nd booster, so I got an extra... Oh, there were 6 of us drafting, an extra 10 cards off that. They weren't brilliant, but I was the only one playing green, so I got quite a few green cards that made mean I could have more of a choice, more of a flavour for my low-level cards. Things were ignoring. Right, then we have Wolfbear Elemental. I didn't get to play this one, which is a shame, but I love this card. It's a 4-drop for a 4/4. Not going to argue with that, really. Fairly effective 4-drop. I mean, it's 2 green, but I'm mainly splashing green. I'm mainly playing green, so it's not really a problem for me. And you multi-kick it with 1s, with 1 green mana, and you get 2/2 wolf for it. You can keep doing that and keep doing that. You can churn out a lot of wolves from that. Then we come down to Selval's Enforcer. I didn't get to play this one either. It's an elf, 4-drop for a 2/2, and it has this lovely parley, which is one of the really good mechanics for Conspiracy. When it enters the battlefield, each player reveals the top card of his or her library, and for each non-land card reveal that way, you put a +1/+1 counter on this card. And then each player draws that card. So you get a bit of draw out of that. If you're playing against, well, with 4 people, odds-wise, I would say you're probably going to get 2/2. So he comes out as a 4/4 and you get a draw off him for a 4-drop. I don't think that's too bad. Then, Death Reap Ritual. I think this was the main card that made me play green because I knew I could get the draw off it. Meant I had to splash black, and we'll get into how I did that later. I mean, we've already spoken about the Spectral Searchlight, so that gave me some black. This one, Morbid Effect. So when a creature dies, you get to draw at the beginning of the end step. Now, the really nice, tasty bit about this text is each end step. That means if you're playing in a multiplayer, you might get 4 draws between the beginning of your first turn and the beginning of your second turn or the next turn. That is amazing in green, and that's what you really, really want. Plus, when you can also sack creatures and plummet things, very, very good and very powerful in a green ramp deck, because you want to be cycling through that deck. You want to get as much land as possible, and you want to get those creatures into your hand. There's no point having 10 mana if you've got no creatures to play on it. Then we've got Woodvine Elemental. Now, he's a white-green, so that meant a bit of splashing there. And he's got a trample, he's a 4/4, and every time he attacks, he's got the parley ability, and he gets bonuses every time. So he's probably going to be a 6/6 while he's attacking, but a 4/4 naturally. Quite useful, quite enjoyed playing him. He came out, he scared a couple of people, and they used a lot of removal on him, so it's really good to have something that people kind of go, oh, I'm scared of it. And also it gives you more draw, and it helps you mill your opponents. That was another option for what I was going to do, was to mill people out. Then we come down to our other 6-drop, which is the Elvish Aberration. That is the 6-drop for the 4/5 and the 3 mana. Once again, I'm thinking mana-wise here, and it's a bit of a bomb. It's not brilliant, but once you bring out a 4/5, you know it's going to be a target, especially when it's got mana abilities. And it's got that lovely forest cycling, so early game, if you're stuck for a bit of mana, why not? Very useful. That scared a couple of people. And then we have the final bomb, which is the Pelka Worm, which is your 7-drop. It's a 7/7 with trample, and when it enters the battlefield you gain 7 life. That saved me. I wouldn't have won if it wasn't for this card coming out when it did. When it dies, you draw a card. I also managed to run the Hunger of the Wolf pack on it with its morbid effect and made it a 10/10, and on the trample I swung with that. Then the opponent caved. It was beautiful. Okay, mana-wise, I went for 15 mana cards, 1 black, 1 white, because of the mana fixing ability, and the rest of them were green, except for this little baby, Polino the High City. This is a drafting ability land card. So when it enters the battle, when you get drafted, the player on your right chooses a colour, you choose a colour, and the person on the left chooses a colour. Thankfully, the person on the right chose green for me, so that saved me green. I went for black, and the player on my left went for white. That made the decision on the colours that I would splash for me. The black and the white meant I can go for it. Why not? And it all worked out quite nicely. Now, conspiracy-wise, I had 2 conspiracies in play. The first one was a backup plan, which is basically a free mulligan. So you draw 7 cards, your opponent draws 7 cards, and... No, sorry, you draw 7 cards, and then you draw 7 cards again, and you get to choose one of those 7 cards to keep, and the other one gets shuffled back into your library. Very useful, very handy. I enjoyed using that one. And then last but not least was Brago's Favour, and this one we've talked about before. You basically name a card that comes out for 1 colourless mana to cast. I named Sakura Tribe Elder, which meant that my 1/1 sap creature to trigger my morbid effects and go land fetching only cost me 1 green mana to put out. That was just the icing on the cake. First turn, that got played. It was lovely. Alright then guys, I hope you've enjoyed our little draft video. We've got a bit more to get through, and then we'll see you for some more videos.